so long. Sister Beverly, Sister Najma, are you all on the line?
Assalamu alaikum, brother. This is Sister Beverly.
Wa alaikum salam, Sister Beverly. Is your partner in righteousness online?
I am. Assalamu alaikum. Sister Najma.
Wa alaikum, Sister Najma. You know, brothers, I'm going to take a point of personal privilege here.
Yes, sir.
These are two sisters I've known almost literally from the day I walked in the doors of Muhammad Mosque number 4 in Washington, D.C. Sister Beverly Muhammad, who's now in Atlanta, great. You know, we have Brother Tim on, her husband.
Yeah.
So this is his lovely wife and partner. And we have Sister Najma, who is a great soldier. And, man, they just have great stories. So I'm going to get right into it. Sisters, thank you for holding on. Thank you for staying up late. Because it's a little later your time than ours. But I had promised you we would have you on, and I'm so excited. I titled this segment, Black Women and Cancer, Fighting for Our Lives. And I know that you two have had that experience. We've been on programs before talking about it. But let's start from let's start from a basic question, and then let's get into your personal stories, and we'll let it unfold from there. But what are some of the basic things that you think Black women need to know when it comes to cancer? What are some of the basics we need to be aware of?
I think, Sister Najma, you should begin with that.
Okay. I think the basic thing that we all need to understand is that early detection is extremely important. The sooner that you find out, the sooner you can start your treatment. Because what we don't understand is that once you get that diagnosis, you should have started treatment a long time ago. So you're already behind the 8 ball once they find out. I think the next thing that you have to know is that there are different types of cancer, and everyone's cancer is individual, and everyone's treatment is individual. And the key is get as much knowledge, be as informed as you can be, and advocate for yourself so that you get the best treatment from the best doctors for your type of cancer.
What are some of the things, Sister Najma, that as women or women and men, but I specifically kind of want to focus on women tonight. We did a program devoted to the men. What are some of the things we should be doing to be proactive in terms of knowing what's going on with us? And is it testing? Is it mammograms? Is it conversations? Talk a little bit about what some of those things are that Black women should be doing.
It's actually both, brother. You know, there are self-exams that you should do monthly at home. You should be very familiar with your body and the changes that it goes through. And you should have your yearly physicals, whether you're male or female. You should have your yearly physicals. You know, we have a system in place in this United States, which is the insurance system, and they kind of dictate to you when you can have different types of testing. And they'll tell you, well, you don't need a mammogram every year. And I will be the first to say a mammogram is not the end all. It doesn't catch it all, but it is better than nothing. So if you advocate for yourself and you have a family history of cancer of any type, you can actually say that, no, I want to have one every year. You can say that, but many of us don't know that you can say that. You can say that, no, I don't want to wait 5 years or wait until I'm 45 or 50 to have my first colonoscopy. Whatever it is, if you understand that you have options to say, no, I need to do this now because of my history or my this or my genetic predisposition to some of these things.
Excellent. Thank you. Sister Beverly, were you about to get into this conversation?
I was going to just reiterate the fact that if in the event you get an examination and you find out that you have cancer, part 2 is not just a discovery, but you need to really, really sit down and organize your mindset on how you are going to deal with it. So in addition to the medical aspects of getting your mammogram and also getting, your pap smears and things that are necessary for you to stay on top of this, you also have to remember that it's great when these things come back negative, but that doesn't mean they're going to always be negative, so you always have to check yourself. But if in the event you are diagnosed with cancer, I find, in my experience, is I had to have someone to help me make the right decisions. And that's where Sister Najma came into my experience with cancer, because she coached me. That's what she does. And by coaching, she helped me to understand what might be best and what may not be best, but all at the same time, leaving the final decisions and options up to my discretion, giving me the best information, giving me what I needed to know, helping to answer my questions, and then allowing me to make up my mind on how I wanted to deal with my particular experience with cancer.
Very good. Sister Najma, why don't you share a little bit about your quote-unquote professional background? Let's start there.
Well, I initially have a degree in biology and a chemistry minor. And then because I have a love for women's health, I went and got a Bachelor of Science in Nursing from Johns Hopkins University and did some time in maternal health and women's health. And then I recently realized that after my situation with cancer and the many people that I've come into contact, especially women, not just women, but mostly women, whether it be diabetes, high blood pressure, whatever, and understanding how we as women tend to put our self-care last. We take care of everybody else and leave ourselves behind, and we're the ones who end up dying earliest. So with that in mind, I went to Emory University and got a certification in health and wellness coaching and got licensed by the medical board as an exam. And now I work for Cigna as a health and wellness coach, and I have my own private practice helping women discover, not just women, women and men, discover their value, their reason to make a life-altering change. Because most of the time we already know, like we know how to eat to live. We know it backwards and forwards, but there's so many different things that in our lives that get in the way of that. Not that you don't know, but you might have other stressors at work. You may have time factor issues that you can't manage, or you just are overwhelmed and you find yourself just grabbing things to compensate for emotions that you aren't ready to share or deal with. And it leads to us having multiple situations of health concerns. It leads to obesity. It leads to us having heart attacks. It leads us having strokes. It leads us to having cancer. All those things come together, what we call the perfect storm. Everything has to be in place for those things to take place. So my passion is our people. My passion is to help us get there, because I had to have somebody help me find my reason. As an athlete most of my life, cancer threw me through a loop. And so I put myself through the process myself just so I could make sure I knew how to help others in the best way that I could. So, yeah.
Wow. Sisters, I'm really so glad to have you both on, Sister Beverly Muhammad and Sister Najma Muhammad. I really want to kind of turn this conversation over to you, too. And why don't you get into some of the things that's on your heart, or some of the things that you really wanted to make sure you said tonight?
Who do you want to start with?
No, you go.
All right. One of the things that is critically important that I have learned through my experience with cancer, and I've had a double type, both sides of the coins experience, because my husband, Brother Tim, had prostate cancer, and I had to support him through that while being on the sideline, and I didn't understand everything he was going through. But I watched his struggle, and I watched him fight cancer, and I watched his optimism. And when it was my turn, and I was diagnosed with cancer, I had an example of someone that did not allow cancer to just literally break their mindset down and their spirit down. One of the things that, if you are diagnosed with cancer, that you must have to understand, and I'm speaking from a layman's term point of view, Najma is far more medically advanced in knowledge than I am, though I did do a year pre-med. But one of the things that you really, really, really have to understand, you have to get that early diagnosis, just like Sister Najma said. But if you are informed that you do have cancer, you cannot emerge from hearing that with a mindset that you don't know what to do, this is the end of the world, there's not going to be a success with this, because your stress factor plays a key role in your tackling this problem, going through your treatments, understanding sometimes the things that are happening to your body. During my chemotherapy, I couldn't taste food. I was very weak. Chemo was very hard on me. I ended up in the hospital. These are the challenges that you're going to have, but your mindset, your faith, your perseverance, your determination, and your fearlessness. When they say you have to fight cancer, you have to fight cancer. You cannot allow cancer to take over your whole being on a diagnosis. You got to put your gloves on and say, I have every right to live, and I'm going to take advantage of every opportunity to live. Back up off of me, cancer. You want to fight? I'm coming with it. You have to have that attitude. If you don't have that attitude, you may not make it to the end. That plays a great role if you are diagnosed with cancer.
Well said.
Yes, ma'am. Sister Beverly. Brother Naba, can I just ask a question too?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Yeah. No, I was all along. I was going to ask similar to what Sister Beverly just spoke on, because I can imagine, and Brother Naba, you relate to this, I'm sure as well. When you first go in a doctor, most times I would imagine cancer could be sitting right up on you and you don't know it. So when they first give you that word, then, like you said, sis, it could freak you out. It could make you act other than the way you would normally try to process things, because some folks may just view it as a death sentence. You did speak on it somewhat already, but I just wondered, are there techniques that you did? You mentioned faith and everything, but, somebody, your general person who's just out there, they learn of it. How, what are some techniques to really grapple with not going overboard, freaking out, thinking it's the end of the world? Are there any kind of resources that you depended upon? Of course, your family, but even other resources that that kind of grounded you and able to walk through it. And in addition, how did you care for your body as well with the other parts of things, the medication that you were taking, the chemo that hit you, that whole experience?
Thank you, my brother, and it's so beautiful to hear your voice.
Yes, ma'am. As we've been talking, I've been reflecting on all of our days,
All our days working hard and knowing each other by Allah's grace. I'm very happy you asked that question, because a lot of times we are encouraged to get a mammogram or, go and get your prostate exam. But beyond that, you don't hear too much talk. So I'm very happy that you asked that question. And I'll give you a perfect example with my husband and myself. My husband was in the gym, and you know, he's in his 70s now, but he's in the gym, he's lifting weights, he's doing all of this magnificent workout, best shape almost of his life. And he goes to the doctor because he's very persistent about a yearly exam. And to his shock and surprise, his PSA level is going up, and he's diagnosed with an aggressive form of cancer. And so he learned it was the shock of the hour. It's like, why do I have cancer? How is this possible? I'm in great shape, et cetera, et cetera. Most people do not realize that cancer is a virus, and most viruses live in your body anyway. It's just what will trigger them or what activates them. Scientific study is still being done in that regard. So to him, it was a complete surprise. For me, on the other hand, because I think I'm very in tune in a different kind of way spiritually with my being, I knew I had cancer before the diagnosis. I could feel it. I could sense the reality of it. And I could feel that there was something not right with the rhythm of my body. And it was so subtle. And those things that are very subtle, it's not like having the flu or COVID or not. Those things are very pronounced, those symptoms. But it was so silent, I could just barely feel it. And I said, you know what? I think I have a tumor. And when I got diagnosed, and I was told that I had breast cancer, one of the radiologists said to me, you know, I'm so sorry to tell you have cancer, but you have a fighting chance. And before I left her office, I thanked her and gave her a hug. And she said to me, why I didn't expect you to act like this. I just told you you had cancer. I said, no, what you told me was that I had a fighting chance. And that is more positive to me than the diagnosis. It's once you give me a fighting chance, then I'm going to fight with everything I have. One of the things, you mentioned the word, Brother James, technique. One of the things that you really, really, really have to understand is that you have to put yourself in a mindset to fight cancer. You have to put yourself in whatever works for you in a situation where you have to attend to yourself. And the mind has to be the captain of that process. You cannot sit around and mope and be afraid. You cannot have people around you. I had to take some of my family members and some of my best friends and even sisters in the nation and tell them, look, I can't deal right now. I have to go into an internal journey, because what I'm doing now is I'm fighting for my life. And I got so sick with the chemotherapy. I couldn't walk. I couldn't sit up in the bed. My husband took excellent care of me and really saved my life. So you have to know who is in your life that is going to help you through this. With Sister Najma on one side, another sister, Dr. Angela, who has been in the nation for years, and with my husband. Those three were my main people. I didn't allow myself to engage in chit-chat and other kinds of things. I made sure that I understood every day, I'm going to fight and I'm going to win. Whether living or dead, I will be the winner.
Go ahead.
I'm not going to be defeated. No way. No way I'm going to be defeated. Allah put this on me, so evidently He must want me to get something out of it. And that's the way you have to deal with it. You can't be pessimistic. You got to be optimistic.
Sisters, I want to ask y'all a question. I want to ask both of y'all a question about
that first, brother.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead. Yes, ma'am. Please, ma'am.
Okay. You know, one of the things about cancer is it's not like you can prepare for it. Cancer is genetic. It's when you have cells that divide incorrectly and then they multiply. And everyone's cell division divides differently, which affects the rate of your cancer, a type of cancer, and all of the above. But the one thing about cancer, like you said, when a person gets that diagnosis, it is a natural feeling to be stunned. It is natural to have fear. It's a natural thing to come over you because it's not something that you prepare for. You don't go in and expect to hear that information. Once you get that information, it is incumbent upon you to process it. So some of the techniques that I tell or I help clients or patients or anyone when they get that diagnosis, there's a few things that you should do to help you process the information. One is you find someone to go with you. Because the first visit, when a doctor tells you that, you may not hear everything that they're saying. It goes in, but you really don't process it. You should always make a follow-up visit immediately, and you should take someone with you. If you can't take someone with you to take notes, I suggest you tape record it, because this is all information that you got to go back and process when your mind slows down long enough to hear and to understand what you have going on. I also recommend that you get a very good, strong support system. In my situation, unlike Sister Beverly, my only support system was my children and a couple of friends I made at work. When you don't have that support system, it can become extremely burdensome because you spend time trying to protect everyone else around you before you actually pay attention to yourself. The other thing is you have to really guard against outside influences because everybody has a quick cure for cancer. Everybody has advice. And you will become extremely overwhelmed, bombarded with everybody else's suggestions and take this and do that. Though they mean well, but when you're trying to process what's best for you, all the external information becomes noise. And I really express to different people that you have to sit down and sit away all the noise and look at the facts that you're dealing with. Develop a relationship with a doctor that you trust and that you have an open communication with. That is extremely key. You have to find a doctor that works for you. I went from one doctor to the second doctor because the first doctor made me feel like this was every day for her. And, you know, she just went through this list of things to do. You're going to come back this day. And I was still stunned. I had to find a doctor who sat down and did diagrams and spent 2 hours with me drawing it out, explaining to me what actually took place so I could comprehend. It's extremely important that you make the decision for yourself and that you understand what type of cancer you have and you ask questions. How fast does it multiply? What's my chances of it coming back? What are my surgical options? In breast cancer, is it a lumpectomy or is it a mastectomy? Or is it neither? Or is it just medication? You have to ask those questions because if you don't, they'll make those decisions for you and you won't know what you agreed to.
Can you explain just real briefly on the point you made? How do you change your doctor? I mean, like I got a doctor, or somebody may have a doctor and they don't know how, or they think you can't do it, or how. What's the approach? Do you just say, "Hey, I don't like the way you treat me. I need another doctor," or what's that whole?
Excellent question. People of color typically do not get second opinions because we don't know that we can. We feel like this is whom I go, this is my doctor, my insurance. They'll even tell you, I'm not sure your insurance will cover a second opinion, but they will. You have the right to ask for a second opinion. You have the right to say, no, I don't want to go to this doctor. So you just basically call your insurance company. You let them know that I would like to have a second opinion. They may ask you why. They may push back. But one of the things that we have to learn to do as a people is learn how to advocate for ourselves. They're not used to us questioning. They're not used to us asking questions. They're not used to us saying, why do I need to do that? Why are you trying to give me this medication? What are my alternatives? They're not used to that. The system is so set up to follow a certain protocol. If you have this A1C3, it says that in 5 years from now, you are going to be a diabetic. So I'm going to put you on this pill now, even though it's not necessary. You're not a diabetic. I'm going to put you on this pill now just in case you get it in 5 years. When really, if you ask the question, why, what else can I do? Then they'll say, oh, well, you can exercise. Oh, you can change the way you eat. Oh, you can do this, this, and this. But we don't advocate because we don't understand how, or we have a fear of asking the question.
That's so true. When I went on my first visit to the oncologist to discuss my cancer, she told me, because I'm up in age now, that I wouldn't live past another 10 years. So what was the need to get chemotherapy, even though my surgeon recommended chemotherapy as a last effort, to make certain that all of the cancers was out of me. And you have to understand that they may be doctors and they have this MD behind their names and all of this academia and practice, but you're talking about yourself and you're talking about your life. And right. I simply just said, thank you very much, wrote a complaint, and just found me another doctor. It's as simple as that. You don't have to explain to your doctor why you feel you like to see another doctor. Just make another doctor and choose that doctor and go to it. Do not take negativity to be more than positivity.
Yes, ma'am. I want to ask your sisters about nutrition. My mother, she passed away of ovarian cancer back in 2009. And one of the things, when our people are on chemotherapy and they think that they don't have to change their diet, can you talk about that?
So, go ahead, Beverly.
Go right ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay. My husband and I have been in the nation for many years. I myself personally celebrating my 57th year in the Nation of Islam. So our diet has always been based on how to eat to live. But going through the cancer treatment, I did have to change not the quantity of what I ate and not necessarily the quality. I had to concentrate on certain foods that I needed extra benefit from in order to go through my treatment. Like I said before, cancer is a virus. Pneumonia is a virus. I hear people say, well, he caught pneumonia. You can't catch pneumonia. Pneumonia is a virus that is in you or originates from a virus that is in your respiratory system. And if it gets out of control, you develop pneumonia. And it's the same way with cancer, because they haven't found a cure yet, because cancer invades the DNA of the cell. It's already living in your body. You just want to make sure it does not activate. And if it does activate, you want to make sure you know what to do to get the population of it back down, or make it in such a point it won't be a danger to you. These are things that no matter what your diet is and no matter how you live, there's no guarantee that you won't develop these viruses that are already in your body. But a good diet, certainly, how to eat to live. I can't say it enough. How to eat to live is the best diet. And the doctors will tell you, like the doctor told my husband, I am just, in fact, the word that they use, the oncologist used with my husband at the end of his treatment is, this is miraculous. That's a direct quote. With mine, it was when I went back to see my regular doctor, and she saw me throughout my treatment and whatnot, but at the end of my treatment, when I went back to my regular doctor, she looked at me and said, oh, my God, you look 15 years younger.
Mm-hmm.
Direct quote. Because it's the How to Eat to Live helps you even more than doing it every day. When you are diagnosed with cancer, How to Eat to Live is twice as potent medicinally than it was when you were in the best of health. It's absolutely necessary. I can't stress it enough.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go through chemotherapy, there are certain things, it depends on the type of chemotherapy that you have. Other people have different side effects from it. Some people get what's called metal mouth, so it alters your taste buds. And when your taste buds alter, certain foods will have an adverse reaction, which will cause you to have things like upset stomach, nausea and vomiting, diarrhea, things of that nature. It all depends on the type of cancer that you have. So it's really important to do the research. They typically will give you a pamphlet that tells you what foods to avoid when you're taking cancer or chemotherapy. Lots of times, of course, some juices we shouldn't drink, some milks that we shouldn't have, and you may have to go a little, refine your How to Eat to Live to modify it to certain foods that you cannot tolerate. One of the things that's also very good is turmeric. A lot of people use that for the inflammation and things of that nature. You'll find that it also helps with sometimes the taste buds. Some use ginger. Some use beet juice. It all depends on each individual's individuality and the type of cancer that you have. There are some cancers that are caused by viruses, and there's some cancers that are just genetic through mutation that they have not determined yet. But most of the time, the kind of foods that we need to eat have to follow the How to Eat to Live. When you come out of cancer, you also have to look at How to Eat to Live, and you also have to exercise. How to Eat to Live alone is not enough because we do not get all the nutrients that we need from the foods that we used to get back in 30, 50, 60 years ago, 100 years ago. Our foods have been altered. So we're missing amino acids. We're missing chemicals in the food. So you have to do more than just How to Eat to Live. You have to exercise. I know for many of us, our lifestyles are different than what they were, especially during the time in the messenger. We have now jobs that are sedentary. We have jobs that take us away from the home. We have chemicals in our home that we didn't have before. There's so many different pollutants that are out there that affect us. So everybody has to look at their own individual medical condition and make the alterations. If you are a person who has medication that they have to take for other reasons, you may not be able to eat one meal a day. But that's an individual thing. Still have to maintain the basis of How to Eat to Live to maintain a healthy life.
Absolutely.
Brothers and sisters, if you have any... Yes, ma'am. Let me get out the number real quick, sisters, so people can call in. You're on WVON 1690, The Talk of Chicago. We're talking about women battling cancer. You can join the conversation tonight at 773-591-1690. That's 773-591-1690. Go ahead, sister.
I just wanted to add also to that some of the side effects that are very worrisome to sisters, one of which is that if you have to go through chemotherapy, you lose your hair. And, you know, a lot of sisters are very conscious about that.
Not everybody loses their hair in chemotherapy, though.
I'm sorry?
It depends on the type of... Not every chemotherapy you'll lose your hair. It depends on the type of chemotherapy drug.
I personally lost all my hair.
Okay,
and
there you go.
Thank you, Coach. I personally lost all my hair. And I wasn't ashamed of it. Actually, I wore it as a badge because it was a symbol of my struggle with cancer. But as I went about going back out and doing things again, I started getting so many compliments about my hair being so short until I'm kind of determined that I'm not going to let it grow back, because if I meet another sister who is going through chemotherapy, that a type of chemotherapy that will cause them to lose hair, I want to be a symbol of strength for her. I want her to recognize that, look, I'm here, we can talk, let's bond with each other and see what we can do to help you through your experience, which brings me to a particular point. I really, really think, and I think those of us who are going through this, Brother Naba'a, Sister Najma, myself, my husband, and others, I think one of the most important, I think we all agree that one of the most important things that we should develop in our communities is a coalition of those who have gone through cancer and have panel discussions, coaches to help, and people that you can generally talk to. I don't think that we are being proactive in helping our brothers and sisters who have cancer. It's a very lonely, I don't want to call it a disease, but a lonely situation. Cancer can make you feel very, very lonely. And we do not have the support groups in our communities that I feel are so completely necessary. I am grateful I had a good coach with Sister Najma, but how many other brothers and sisters are fighting this all alone? We definitely have to do something about it. We have to develop a proactive approach where they can find a hotline or find a group that they can come to and talk and get through this, to help them get through this.
That's a beautiful idea. That's a wonderful idea.
Sister Beverly, I think that what you said brought me to something from what Sister Najma said, brought me to something. And we got about 9 minutes left in the segment, maybe about 8. But this is the thing. You know, we talk about when you find out. And one of the most difficult things for me to admit as a Muslim was being afraid.
Yeah.
Because we're taught to fear none but Allah. But and I said this when we won another phone call. Mm-hmm. But in the Holy Quran, Allah promises us that He will try us with something of fear, diminution of fruit, loss of property, and lives. So if Allah is going to try us with fear, it's okay to admit the fear exists. And once you admit fear exists, now you can get into how am I going to manage and overcome that fear now? You know, and I think sometimes we are embarrassed when we have certain things, whether we because we feel that we have so much knowledge. But I would say this, brothers and sisters, please get the information. Please go to your annual physical. Brother BJ, we're going to get to you in a minute. Please go to your annual physical.
Oh, yeah.
Because we got somebody that's part of the process that after all that fine teaching your husband did, the man was talking about he thinking about going to the doctor.
Yeah.
So we're going to come back to him in a minute about did he set that appointment already. But let me ask this real quick. I don't want to keep going. One of the things we found with men is this kind of refusal to go to the doctor. Is there a similar problem among women, or is that they just feel they're busy, or what do we know about that?
It is a similar problem. We find that women of color, in terms of breast cancer, they die at a larger rate than any other sector when it comes to breast cancer. And it's because of lack of information, knowledge, and late diagnosis. Late diagnosis and going to the doctor is typically the result of an economic factor and a time factor. Time typically is the biggest reason that keeps many of us from doing what we should for ourselves. Self-care for women, especially mothers and working mothers and women of color, is at an ultimate low. We typically have pretty much that same fear of going to doctors, not wanting to go. What am I going to do if I go? Who's going to take care of my children? I have to go to work. I can't miss work. All these things become excuses why that one appointment never happens.
So, brothers, if you got a woman in your life, if you got a woman in your life, you must encourage, just like she encouraged you to do all the good things. And she's always looking out for you. That woman in your life, brother, you look out for her now. Don't leave it to her to just figure it out on her own, because 9 times out of 10, she won't do that for you. She's not going to the doctor, but she makes sure you go. So we got to advocate and we got to support our women. Thank you. We got about 2 minutes left, I guess. Sisters, you want to close with anything? And I want to thank you all for coming on, Sister Beverly. I think that's a great idea. And we can talk about how we can create something.
Thank you. Thank you so very much for having us on to discuss this all-important subject. Find a way to deal with cancer if you have been diagnosed. What works for you. Find a coach and assemble the best that you can assemble within yourself to fight for your life. I've personally supported the more spiritually, but I did not excuse the medicine. Find what works for you. Do not fear cancer, fight cancer. And Allah will bless you if you have that faith. If you have fear, it cancels out faith. You can't say I have faith and have fear, because they don't go together very well at all. May Allah bless each and every one of you, the listeners. Thank you.
All right. Sister Najma?
Last thing I would say is that we spend a lot of time talking about the cancer patient, but for those people who are caregivers for those who are have cancer, or family, or you have friends with cancer, I would like to say this: most cancer patients do not know what they need. So asking them and saying, whatever you need, I'm here for you. I would like to say, take a step and just do something that you think you would like. Take an extra step and do don't wait for them to ask for you to come by, or to bring them some water, or bring them some antelope, or bring them some food. Just do it. Let them say no first, because many times they don't know what they need. And sometimes they don't know how to ask for it. And it's so appreciative when you just take that step and take them something. That's all I like to say.
Well, sister, thank you. Brother BJ, what's the status of your doctor's appointment?
Well, I had a talk with my wife, and I told them what you and Brother James had planned, and she said she's working out something. She said just give her a little time.
It's been 3 weeks. What had happened?
I know.
What had
I don't want y'all to pay. I don't want y'all to pay for my stuff, man.
Brother BJ, that's already settled. It don't matter what you want. Ain't nobody ask. Did we ask you? Did we ask you?
No, sir.
Ain't nobody care about what you want.
Yes, sir.
You already made a commitment. So just make your appointment.
That's right.
And if it's a cost, you let us know. And we take care of that, man.
What did they say about word and bond, Brother Naba? What did they say about word and bond? Did it say, my word is bond, and in 3 weeks, maybe 4, I will make it happen? Or
I never heard of such, Brother James.
Oh, yes, sir. Okay.
You're right. They got me trust, sisters. I'm going.
Please give us Brother Tim the greeting for us as well.
I certainly will, and thank you so very much for having me.
Thank you all. Thank you all so much for coming. We'll have to do this again, okay?
Thank you so much.
All right. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam, everyone.
All right, brothers and sisters. Yeah, we at the top of the hour now. Yes, sir. We got it, brother. It's been a couple of weeks, and I think about it every day because I knew y'all was going to follow up on me, brother. But anyway, hey, it's top of the hour. Coming up, more on Straight Words on WBON 1690. We'll be back, y'all.